And the time is 7 p.m. There are 6 members of council present. A quorum is established. I call this meeting to order. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, item number 3 on the agenda was public comment. We did not have any members of the public sign up to speak. Item number 4, Senator Greg Elkins is currently over at the fiscal court meeting with them, so we'll just adjust and welcome him when he's able to make the meeting. Item number 5 is Jason Rainey, the Executive Director of the Mount Sterling Montgomery County Industrial Authority, and with him tonight is the Chair of the Industrial Authority Board, Spear Stilts. So gentlemen, welcome. Good to have you at the City Council. On your desk, Jason had sent, I know he sent you all an email today with some information. I've also put that copy on your desk. So Jason, turn it over. The floor is yours.
I appreciate the opportunity to come before you all today and really give you all an update on what's going on with the new Walters Industrial Park. One of the things we've consistently heard over the last several years is how do we lean into more job creation, diversification of the workforce, and one of those ways to do that is going to be having more product available for companies to locate on, right? What you have in your packet is also this rendering of what that site is going to look like conceptually. You'll also see there in the packet kind of a highlight of the timeline of where we've been on this, right? This has been about a 3-year process to date, dating back to February 2024. We were awarded the Kentucky Product Development Initiative $2 million, and that allowed us to purchase the Walters Family Farm with the intent of turning it into a new industrial park for our community, right? The land was ultimately purchased in May of 2024 with that groundbreaking in June of 2024. Other grants we've gotten related to this project is through Opportunity Kentucky, a partnership with Kentucky Utilities. They see the potential in this project. It's been rated as one of the top new industrial parks in Kentucky. I think that's very notable for us when we look at where we're going as a community. And that $100,000 is going to go towards engineering and some matching on that previous KPDI award. The original reason, right, for wanting to be on the agenda to come visit with you all today, right, when we think about the Industrial Authority Economic Development Office, we're looking at business retention and creation. We're looking at how do we attract new companies to our community. All the things that are going to help us grow the tax base, grow our community. And one of those things is this new industrial park, and ultimately is to share with you all the good news that we have been recognized and recommended for another $2 million grant for this industrial park. So when you think about this timeline, right, the first $2 million allowed us to acquire the property and do some initial due diligence. This round of $2 million that I put in last summer, the scope of work on that is around site preparation, infrastructure, all the things that we need so a company could truly come in here and say, we want to put roots on this property, we want to build a building, and we want to create jobs and commerce on this site. We got to have the site preparation, the roads, water, the sewer, and all those related things, right? So that's what this $2 million is going to go to. We're going to do it through phases. I'm in the process of getting through the engineering related to this. That's going to be going over the next 3 to 4 months. And, you know, I will say just for this body, this is great timing with Senator Greg Elkins coming in, because what this project represents is a partnership between the legislative and the executive branch and our local county and city governments, right? There's a lot of communities that cannot apply for these type of grant funds, and communities come together to work knowing, right, we're laying the foundation for something pretty significant for our community. So to summarize kind of the current state analysis, right, we're right at $4.1 million in grant funding we've got for this new industrial park. We also have another $4 million that's out there that's going to be finishing up the phases in the industrial park. We're waiting to hear word on that late in 2025, which is super exciting. And when all's said and done, we're going to be at $8.6 million in state and federal grants invested into our community to get this new industrial park, the Walters Industrial Park, turnkey for us. And what that's cost us as a community, right, is $400,000. That is what the match is on this amount. So just to kind of give you all context, and feel free, I tend to filibuster sometimes, so if I'm talking too much and you all have questions, just let me know. But so on the first grant, it's a $2 million grant that we got back in February 2024. The matching requirement back then on the program was $1 million. We were able to do some procedural things where the industrial authority, the city and county didn't have to match those dollars, right? Which is a significant win for us. We're able to get control through the industrial authority on behalf of the city and county, this land in the public domain. Significant when we look at more grant money, having it in the public domain. Now we've got this $2 million that we've been recommended for funding. The fiscal court, where we just came from, my board chairman, Spears, who's with me tonight, I appreciate his vision and everybody in the city and county with what we're trying to do to pull this together. Right, they're passing the resolution related to this. That's the final piece of the puzzle I need for the state of Kentucky in this package. So if you turn to page 2 with me, this is the money part of this project. This is the exciting part, right? So I say this because I don't like wordsmithing things, and that is we're looking at the development and the occupation of the park, right? That is a timeline of, we're estimating what is it going to take. It could be somebody comes in and wants an entire industrial park. It could be somebody that comes in and they want a piece of it, just as we have 14 different sites available in this conceptual map. My point is, for this group, and this is why it's so important for this body, is potentially from this industrial park, we're going to have $2.4 million in direct new occupational tax money from jobs created in this park, right? That's our best case scenario. Economic impact for the community, just from this project when fully developed and occupied, is right at $790 million. And so, when we think about that, we all know it takes a lot of time for these projects to come together. You look at, Spears and I and our board with mayor and judge, we've been working hard on this for 3 years to get it to this point, right? What's our next 12 months look like? The next 12 months is that engineering period, and then starting to move dirt out there. Getting the site ready for a company to go on it. When can a company potentially go on this site if all goes well? Spring or summer of 2026 is what we're looking at. So, just so this body knows, we're flipping gear in July to a hard national marketing of this site and what it means. We've already had people calling about it. So there's a lot of interest around it. The ask, this is obviously the most important part, and there's only part of this that I need to address with you tonight, and that is that top part highlighted in yellow, where we're looking at trying to share in that $400,000, sharing $200,000 of that with the city and county. Just coming over from the fiscal court, we talked with them about the $120,000. And, we're asking if you all would look at that $80,000 one-time money to help us kind of get this over the hump with continuing the process and the procedure to keep this project going for the community. So, and I know I probably share some excited exuberance sometimes about this. I think it is really big deal for our community. We're part of a group called the Greater Lex. It's a 9-county collaboration. It's all around Lexington. We've been noted as not only one of the top new industrial park potential industry sites in the state of Kentucky, but we're one of the top ones in that Greater Lex too. So I think that's pretty notable for us, and where we can grow to diversify the worker base, right?
So when are you needing a decision? Because we're already getting ready to read our second reading of our budget. We'd already approved that last month, so this is sort of this feels like it's a little bit off timing.
Right. Yeah, and so that's one of the things I want to talk about with this body, right? We've kind of been hit with an element of surprise. We thought we were going to be notified back a few months ago on this, and we were just notified here in the last few weeks. And so procedurally, what we're trying to do is find a way where, well, I guess you've got a couple of things, right? The $80,000 from the city is something that we would be taking down over time, getting down over time, and our earliest would be is October, right? And you're really looking at an October to a March, April timeline on that. So, I mean, hopefully that gives us a little latitude, flexibility to be able to, I know there's timelines with changing budgets.
Yeah, the reason you're saying that is because tonight, the fiscal court approved a resolution to go ahead and formally apply.
Yeah.
It's got to go before this KPDI board, which meets when?
It goes before the KEDFA board, and that is the last Thursday of every month.
Last
That is
Thursday
in
of the month.
Frankfurt, yeah.
And then you'll have hopefully an approval. And
Yeah,
then,
it's procedural,
and
yeah.
then there's going to be a period of time where you're working out funding and so forth. So when you say October, it's probably because it's going to take some time
Yes.
to funnel this money to.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the timeline is, I'm moving into engineering July, August, September. That may bleed into October. We get all that part of it finalized, we get the permits, and we all know how long it takes to get some of these government permits, right? From Frankfurt, DC, we get all that lined out. Then hopefully, weather's cooperating, and we're able to move right into kind of that site preparation, really shooting for an April timeline to be able to say, hey, somebody could move in on that site, right?
Right, and then, so the ask that you have here, it wouldn't be all at once, because the county also has a portion of that, and then the industrial authority has 200,000 of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you talk about where you're all getting that 200,000?
Yeah, the thing that we've looked at on there is, just because of the significance of this for the community, is doing basically an interest-only loan related to that. Right? I mean, the big thing about this grant program is it is a reimbursement basis program. So our industrial authority is going to be doing two separate loans. One is basically the line of credit where we'll be able to flow through, pay these folks, get the reimbursements to come through fiscal court, and then to us to make us back whole for the industrial authority. And then the other part of that is that interest only related to the matching dollars.
Okay.
You said earlier that you were just notified of the 400,000.
I was just notified that we were getting the 2 million. We've been waiting on that for several months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so with that, then you have to come up with obviously the match like that as soon as you're notified.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, I will say just for this group, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's okay.
You know, it's, getting this award once is just like winning the lottery, and the fact that we've been chosen twice at the maximum grant amount, I mean, it's, you know, I think it's a real blessing, and I mean, that's why I really believe in it, and I'm trying to find ways that, you know, we can bring it together and bring the project to fruition, and, you know, it's taken a lot of folks pushing on Mount Sterling, Montgomery County's behalf for us to get recommended for the award, right? This round of funding, the project, there's $33 million recommended, and there was $100 million in request. So, you know.
And then for the second part of that on page 2, it looks like that you are also going to ask for an increase in allocation annually, I'm assuming.
No, I'm
65
not
to
at this
20.
time
No?
asking about
Okay.
that. No,
Okay.
I'm not.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is being able to figure out where we can get on that match
The match.
so that we can keep that ball rolling, because, you know, we're trying to get everybody lined
So,
up.
Mayor, what do we need to do since we're trying to approve a budget? How do we go about doing this?
Well, because we had some discussions about 10 days ago, Laura has been able to find some money. Right now, a commitment of about 40,000. The rest we'd have to find. So is it doable? Absolutely. It's just we're gonna have to
Go through
work it in
budget.
through our budget and see what may need to be trimmed elsewhere in order to balance those numbers. But right now, we could guarantee a 40,000 for this fiscal year. The 80, we'd have to work on the additional 40,000. Jason, the pending congressional funding and grant request, this is the community funding that comes from Congress.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yes,
Pending, what that is, what it looks like, what it may be?
Yeah, that's a project, right? We originally had been right at around $2 million on that request. And as we all know, the federal budget, that process changed somewhat back in January and February. And so all those type of earmark projects came out. Previous applicants were included in a new round of funding application, and we were actually able to increase that requested amount to $4 million. You know, our communication with the congressman's office is there's no matching with that grant fund. So ultimately, if those earmarks go in the upcoming federal budget, the new federal fiscal year after October 1, then we'd be able to get those funds.
So what would we use those funds for right there? That,
Phase 2, finishing up all the site,
okay,
right?
okay.
Yeah, because the $2 million and then you add in the $4 million to 400,000, that's the matching, right? We're going to be at 2.4 million on this. That's only going to get me so far on this kind of phase 1 part of the site. And then the additional bar money coming in will help us finish that up.
Yeah, and then, so this is just a concept, obviously an engineer is gonna refine this.
There will likely be some minor refinements. But as you look at the property, right, Owensville Road is running to the east, north to south along the site. That's the site we're going to be starting on and developing inward, right? Ultimately, hopefully there's going to be a road. The idea is a road coming in from the existing Woodland Industrial Park between Cooper and Wastequip, going right up into the site, and then you can also enter on Owensville Road.
So we don't need to make this, we don't have to make a decision tonight. It can, we can
We do
look
not,
at it a little bit.
Well,
We have
but
other-
he can't apply the next step until he has some
Till he
commitment
hears
from the
something
city.
from
Yeah.
Yes, that's the kicker, is that he has to have something that proves that he has the backing to match this, which I understand the predicament he's in, but it's sort of put us in a predicament
Yeah,
too.
because there's that.
do I have to provide a letter of support that says we will commit 80, or is the county's resolution that the match will be taken care of locally enough? Or in their resolution, it has those numbers broken down, correct? In the county's resolution, it has 120 for the county, 80 from the city.
There was an edit to the MOU, I'm not sure if it spells out those numbers specifically. County attorney had done an edit to the draft, I didn't see that latest edit.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the resolution from the county allows me to keep going. I mean, I think for this group, you know, is there some way where we get it, if we can't get it official tonight, we get it official after the 7/1 new fiscal year? You know, I don't know all the procedural of how we need, you know,
Right.
to do that.
So we don't have to vote on anything that Jason is asking about tonight. You're voting on a budget, and within that budget, because we knew this was coming, we have been able to find 40,000. So knowing that if we pass the budget tonight, we can amend a budget when within that budget we find the additional 40,000. Now that's the only commitment that we can really make. That would be 80. The interest on a loan would be something that we would have to have some sort of further discussion with the industrial authority about what that looks like. Spears, if we get everybody around the table, what that looks like, and then whether that is a grant payment or a loan type payment. Because once these properties sell, then that's how he's paying back their loan, and that we could possibly be reimbursed some through that. So
And
that's a
we want-
discussion we could have at a later date.
And we want the jobs, and we appreciate
Yeah.
the hard work, so we're not trying to stall anything, just trying to look at it, the logistics of it.
Well, and this is an amazing thing, like Jason said, it is awesome that we've got, if we just had the 2 million and the 100,000, that's a huge win already. The fact that there's possibly more money that we can go after is great, and when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, this is 4.1 million that we are putting up 400,000 locally for, to get 4.1 million, so it's just, the timing is kind of challenging for us, honestly, but we are working on trying to find a solution to this, so the commitment that I could tell council, if you're fine with the budget tonight and we pass that we've got half of that figured out already. It's just refining within that budget what may need to be shifted from one line item to another. So,
That's fair.
Well, and I would just say to this group, I really appreciate the mayor and his leadership, because without our industrial authority and the mayor and the judge saying, hey, swing for the fences and try to do some aggressive things, we can't get the chance at some of this. And, I know it puts you all in kind of a procedural position tonight, but really appreciate all your support. It means a lot. So,
okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jason. Spears, thank you. Appreciate you coming tonight. All right, thank you to the council. Next, we have visiting tonight, Senator Greg Elkins. Senator Elkins, welcome. See, you brought your lovely wife Kim tonight, and you brought some friends from Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. So, Chris and Casey, welcome.
Thank you, and Mayor, if it pleases you and the members of this body, I'll let District 7 go before me.
Yes, sir.
That way they've got further to drive to get home than we do. But one thing, and you guys may have already looked at it, there is that House Bill 9 from a few years ago where you can borrow money for matching grants from the cabinet or from the Commonwealth and then pay it back. Maybe help ease those budget issues a little bit as well. Now
Right.
you're familiar with it, you probably already.
Yes,
looked at it.
yes.
With that, I'll turn it over to
So,
you.
yes, sir. Thank you. We appreciate you coming. Senator Elkins said he wanted to come tonight because we, between the judge and I, had been having a lot of conversations with Senator Elkins about concerns we had with our roads here, and just requesting, like we should do, to our elected representatives and senators in Frankfort to help, and he says I'll do whatever I can to help, and so he's been very kind to try to make phone calls, open doors, do whatever he can to open lines of communication, and he said I wanted to come visit everybody anyway, so it was kind of perfect timing to have him come. So we will certainly defer upon your request and just talk to District 7. We appreciate them coming tonight, and then we'll open it back up. So,
Thank you.
yes, sir. So, Casey, Chris, welcome. You all going to tag team this tonight?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I brought over a few updates on what's going on
Yes.
at the district office. I mean, I could start with that. Of course, we are working toward our next highway plan. We're prioritizing projects throughout the state for inclusion for the next highway plan. And some of the active capital improvement type projects that we have going on right now, of course, you all are probably very familiar with Hingston Pike, the first section south of the interstate. We are within the right-of-way phase. In fact, I think we're about halfway through with acquiring the right-of-way on that section of roadway. And what that's going to be doing is going to be straightening the roadway out a little bit, make some geometric improvements to the roadway, as well as doing a little bit of widening as well as part of it. Now, it's only one section. There is a second section, which is north of the interstate, which we would eventually connect over to the industrial part. There's a cul-de-sac over there on the east part that we would eventually be connecting to. That's another section that it is state funded. However, so we haven't really had all that much movement on that one. But first section going down to US 460, we will be seeing that one hopefully in the construction before the next highway plan. So that way it's, once we get that one checked off the list, we can work on other things throughout the city.
Right, so Casey, just so we're clear with status, that will probably be let next fiscal year? When do you think that will go out?
We really feel like, well, I guess it technically would be next fiscal year.
Okay.
It'll be fall of this calendar year. That's
Okay.
what we're anticipating on
Okay.
that. Once we get all the, we have only 13 parcels actually on that portion of Kingston Pike. So once we have all that cleared, that will allow us to proceed over into the construction phase.
So if we're lucky, that goes to construction 2026, possibly.
If we were able to get it to construction, or have it awarded, I should say, because we do have to authorize the funds. If we get it awarded to construction prior to April of 2026, when the next highway plan becomes enacted, we would be good to go.
2026, 2027 is what we're looking at.
For
Calendar year, yeah.
Yeah, calendar year.
Construction, okay.
Yeah.
That's,
The other project we also have going on is US 60 over in the western part of town, from the bypass all the way out to the Grand Division. We have 85 parcels on that project, so it is going to take some time. However, we are about maybe 1/3 to a half of all the parcels have been cleared with deeds signed and whatnot. Now we're a little bit. We still have a lot of parcels to clear on that project, so we do anticipate that one will probably have to see construction later in the 2026 calendar year. So, but those are two big, very active projects that we have around, and so we just wanted to give you a quick update on that. And of course, look forward to the next highway plan set to be enacted April of 2026. And we do have a couple steps that Mayor Botts participates in with the Gateway Ad as far as selecting projects to boost and really prioritize for that next highway plan.
so the two, I'm sorry, Daniel, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the two projects that Casey briefed are basically our top two priority projects for the whole county. So we're very fortunate one of those is in the city limits, well, part of 60, is in the city limits there. But, so we're very fortunate that those two are there, and you all know Hinkston, we have been pushing that as a council for years, and we're almost there. We're almost across the finish line. So that's great news. The judge executive has a lot of other projects within the county that are being pushed, 460 project into Menifee County, and that's all good, Levy Road. But for you as a council, for us, we see things within our city limits, and just know that we do have North Maysville Road on the list, that it's the complete upgrade of the North Maysville Road corridor. It's just challenging to get that pushed up high enough on the list to where it can go into a funding cycle. So usually you can have two at a time that are in a funding type cycle, and those are the two that he just briefed. So North Maysville Road's still on the list there, but it's down a few spots, so we'll just keep plugging away at that.
The biggest thing is getting a lot of these projects off the books, get it through construction, and that would allow us some opportunities of starting new projects and really make it through that list.
So do these include like any type of bike paths or any bike lanes, since you'll be widening it or anything like that, more for safety?
Yeah, so with every roadway project that we work on, one of the factors that we have to consider is bike path accommodations. It's a decision that's made on every project. However, we don't do strictly just bike path projects within the highway plan. It's usually associated with a roadway project.
Gotcha.
One of the things that we look at, or some of the few things that we look at as far as making that determination for bike paths and sidewalks, is if there's, one, evidence of people riding bikes and walking down the side of the road. That's one thing. Also, having a bike ped master plan as well is something that we also consider when making the decision of providing those accommodations along our roadway projects.
Okay.
And as Gateway Area Development District was working on a master plan for the region, so that we did not have to individually